met her in the fall. He took her to a movie, and when they done it all, he took her to a movie.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Fabulous Picture Show. I'm Amanda Palmer. This week we're inviting you to a masterclass with one of the most influential filmmakers of our time. With directing credits spanning almost 5 decades and over 40 films, Martin Scorsese created some of the most iconic scenes of American cinema.
You talking to me?
And sometimes he even cast himself.
That's my wife. But that's not my apartment. I'm gonna kill her. Listen, there's nothing else. I'm gonna kill her.
He also gave unforgettable roles to one Catherine Scorsese, his mother.
Can't you get yourself a nice girl?
I get a nice one almost every night, Ma.
Yeah, but get yourself a girl so you could settle down. That's what I mean.
settle down almost every night, but then in the morning I'm free. I love you. I love you.
His working-class Italian-American parents protected their asthma-suffering son from the mean streets of 1950s New York. The young Marty often stayed at home in front of the TV, where he began his film education.
At the end of World War II, in a conquered country like Italy, suddenly came out of the ashes through their cinema. And being Italian-American, I saw my family, my mother and father, and particularly my grandparents, watching these Italian films on television in 1947, and people crying in the room. And I was about 4 years old, and I learned that that was the truth.
But the poorly child also studied the violence on the streets around him.
That was the first time I'd ever seen anyone shot.
He briefly harbored an ambition to be a priest, but chose film school instead.
Lord, I'm not worthy to eat your flesh, not worthy to drink your blood.
But what he saw in his early years would inspire the themes of brutality and redemption in his later films. In Mean Streets, Scorsese cast actors who'd grown up in the same area as him, two unknowns called Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro.
Scumbag.
Hey, come on, don't call me no scumbag.
You can't pay what you owe. As soon as the game shows up, you bang, you want to jump in.
Their pairing with Scorsese would make film history.
I'm no cop, man. Well, if you are, it's entrapment already. I'm hip.
Scorsese helped define American cinema of the 1970s and 80s. His 1980 masterpiece, Raging Bull, earned him his first Oscar nomination for Best Director, which many expected him to win. But it would take 6 more nominations and 26 years before he eventually won for The Departed.
Mr. Scorsese!
I was very surprised.
I got an informer in my outfit. Cop. State East, Boston Police Department. I'm not sure.
Jesus Christ.
You got something you wanna ask me?
Martin Scorsese once said that Hollywood was as difficult as growing up on the tough streets of Little Italy in New York. The only difference is in Hollywood, they use contracts instead of knives, and they stab you in the back instead of the front. Well, he's a brilliant storyteller in his films and in real life. Hope you enjoy his masterclass. Director Quentin Tarantino joined me and hundreds of others who were lucky enough to hear Scorsese speak at the Cannes Film Festival. He's never forgotten that Cannes gave him their top prize for Taxi Driver in 1976, long before Hollywood awarded him with their greatest honour.
Okay. The only way you can make a film, I think you have to want to make the film more than anything else in life. You have to be crazy. You have to have an obsessive nature. I would like that just a little bit. The kid doesn't look like a gangster yet. Yeah, that's better. We don't have any stays in the collar? No stays, Christine? I've always told the story of, at the age of 3 years old, contracting asthma, a serious, at that time, very serious, and still is, I think. But when in any event, the asthmatic condition cut me off from normal childhood games or especially sports. The thing about that, my parents also working class, worked in the garment district, weren't in the habit of reading books. So the only thing they could do with me was take me to the movie theater. And so ultimately the connection to cinema and movies, or whatever you want to call it, was made emotionally through my parents, really. I lived my feelings with them and for them through the films they took me to see.
Should have gone right on in there.
Mr. Bean, the way it was directed, the nature of the acting, the story, that was the film that became almost a religious obsession.
I shot him because he tried to stop me. I could have killed him if I'd wanted to, but I didn't. I just wanted him to let me go.
Why?
Because he tried to hold me.
I began to wonder why I was feeling a certain way at a certain point in that film. And then I noticed maybe a camera position or an actor.
Any law against throwing stones? Oh, you're tough, huh? Come here! What are you hanging around here for anyway? Huh? Would she talk to me?
I always, as an example, back in 1967, Bonnie and Clyde, there's a scene where they're being shot at in a motel that they're in. And as the car pulls out, there was one policeman who shoots through the window, and you see Gene Hackman gets hit in the eye. And I imagined that as a close-up. And I went to see the film again. It's a medium shot. Now, why did I see it so close in my head? Sound effects, position of the gun and the camera, and the position of the frame, editing. All these things started to make me understand that you can actually construct images that can tell a story. I had no access to any kind of filmmaking equipment. We just couldn't afford it. And so I started to draw pictures. And ultimately, when this was worked out and when I went to New York University and we were able to make films, the first thing I did was to draw the pictures and draw the editing patterns that I saw or felt in my head, according to the music I was listening to, or the films I had seen. And that was done, out of the need to do it, kind of a passion to do it, in a way, somewhat irrational, but I had to do it. And then, also knowing which lens to use and what the angle should be and things like that, where the movement would be. But then, particularly in a low-budget film, it was a security issue. Because if you're in security of getting there, the worst thing in low budget, you get there, you plug the lights in and everything, all the electricity goes. And so you lose 2-3 hours, you haven't gotten one shot. And so you have to know what you have to get. And this was a matter of security for me.
What do you do with yourself?
Well, that depends.
Oh, no, I mean, seriously. You go to school, you work, or what?
Well, I am, as they say, at the moment, sort of in between, at this time, sort of in between positions.
Harvey came to me, he just answered an ad in a little magazine, a little newspaper called Show Business in New York at the time. Student film, once actor, et cetera. And that's when I met him, 1965. And he came in, and I just felt comfortable with Harvey. It's ethnic, New York, Italian, Jewish. We just feel very comfortable with each other. He was a court stenographer, actually, at the time. And you know, I'd shoot like for 3 weeks or something, and then we ran out of money, and I'd call him again 6 months later, and he would complain. He said, you know, I have a life, I have a job, a court stenographer, you know. When are you going to finish this damn thing? So it took 3 years to finish the film. And what I learned then, of course, at least we got through the process.
I'm stupid for getting my head punched in. You Schweinhund. My bad hand, my bad hand. Wait a minute, what are you doing?
Bob De Niro was introduced to me by Brian De Palma, and he said to me, you're so-and-so, and you're Marty, I know that you used to hang out with, and he mentioned 3 or 4 names of younger boys that we used to be hanging out with. This is before Mean Streets. And I said, yeah, how do you know? And he said, well, I used to be on Grand Street. And he mentioned 4 other names, which was a different group from us, but there was a little friction between these groups, actually. And I said, yeah, wait a minute, I remember you. He was 16 years old, and so was I. And so we knew each other. We knew all the people. He knew the people that I made Who's That Knocking about. And he knew the people I made Mean Streets about. And so when he wears that hat, he knows exactly who he's playing.
What happens? I come out of the yacht, I don't know this building. Meek, I don't know nothing. Couldn't get out. It was like a box, big, like this. So I gotta go back in. Not only do I go back in, but this kid says it's a false alarm. Imagine that. I wanted to kill this kid. I mean, I wanna... I was so crazy. I wanted to kill this kid. June 29th. I gotta get in shape now. Too much sitting has ruined my body. Too much abuse has gone on for too long.
I always thought voiceover was very important. Over the years now, past 20 years in Hollywood, people saying don't ever use narration, because narration only it means when you resort to narration, it's a failure because you can't tell the story. And I'm saying, no, you're actually inside the person's mind and heart.
Loneliness has followed me my whole life, everywhere. In bars and cars.
The way I shot subjective camera, I saw everything through Travis's eyes and Paul Schrader's script. I designed every shot pretty much as the way Travis would see it, how he would experience it.
Don't look at him.
The Countess Olenska arrived rather late, signaling a carelessness of which she was entirely unaware.
By the time I got to read Age of Innocence, it was about 1985, I think, I wanted to imbue the entire film with the language from the book. And I know other people say, well, that's not how you do make a film, a novel into a film. But I just loved the language, and I loved the nature of the power of how she expressed his future.
I didn't have much chance to talk to him, but wasn't he a little common?
Common? I thought he was clever.
I suppose I shouldn't have known if he was clever.
Then I won't ask him to die.
With a chill, he knew that in future, many problems would be solved for him in the same way.
In Vegas, everybody's got to watch everybody else.
All these things came together, and we explored it fully, I think, in Casino. We blasted it in a way with voiceover.
The dealers are watching the players. The boxmen are watching the dealers. The floormen are watching the boxmen. The pit bosses are watching the floormen. The shift bosses are watching the pit bosses. The casino manager is watching the shift bosses. I'm watching the casino manager, and the eye in the sky is watching us all.
We wanted to make even more of a provocation, and because the world that they're in is fueled with greed and drugs, that eventually the voiceover itself, with Joe Pesci on one saying one thing, Bob De Niro saying another, she's saying something, I mean, they're all in their mind. Nobody, it's not even meant to be listened to at a certain point. Everything is about how everything goes out of control.
I'm just trying to leave.
It turned out Ginger didn't tell him anything. But by then, the feds didn't need her anyway.
Right away, I got wind of the pinches coming down, so I took off. Who needs to hang around for that bull? But they got almost everybody else.
This area is seized. It's a master accountant.
Poor Artie. He got so upset he had a heart attack and dropped dead right there in front of his wife.
I'm down. I'm down.
He's my husband.
Stay out of the way. We can't.
I could feel and see I can hear the whiz, the sound of the punches that flew around.
Right to the body. Robinson comes back with a right on the nose.
At one point in the process, I thought, let's make the whole film but never show a boxing match.
He met her in